Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing tonight? Oh, waving. Great. So we're having this great session today, and I want to make sure that we all have the opportunity to contribute to the call tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our Program Quality Director, Noel Ganay. Please take it over.
Thank you so much, Madam District Director. And thank you so much for fellow Toastmasters to have joined in this meeting. I know you guys were expecting Brad Pitt, but unfortunately, Brad is going through a very tough divorce with Angelina Jolie. So they're still trying to solve everything. So he's not available and he's quarantined. So unfortunately, he can't make it. But then again, you guys realize it was an April Fool's Day thing. We wanted to make sure that with a little bit of levity that's going on, especially in the times that we have. But actually, the reason why we titled the presentation to be special guests starring Brad Pitt, the original was a special guest, starring, and I'll share my screen on this, is one of the big reasons is because the fact that a lot of people are trying to figure out how can they get their meetings to be something that, something that they can get people to be involved, or at least attract people to join with the club, especially with non-Toastmasters. That's one of the most difficult things that we are running into right now is getting non-Toastmasters, is because, with the lockdown, people can't visit your clubs physically. Then how do you attract the people to attend your club? So this is, I'm trying to see if I can show my slide right now.
I see it.
You see it? Okay, there we go. So here's something we could talk about. Why have a special guest? And then what's the difference of having a special guest versus the regular meeting? And then focusing on the focus of the meeting and the guests. And then what types of guests? And when I mean types of guests is something that how we can relate, how we can find these guests. And as the running joke that we have in the district is, I know a guy who knows a guy. And then also special events. So we're going to start off with why have the special guest. And I'm going to keep on switching from showing the screen and then not showing the screen. So one of the big reasons why we have the guests is because we have to make sure that, what makes a meeting special. First of all, one of the lessons that I learned as a club coach was if you got your house in order before you actually start inviting people, then when they see your house is in order, it's like, oh my gosh, this is lovely. I'd like to stay. Fixing the quality first of your club meeting makes a world of a difference. So once you have that, saying, okay, we're going to have a meeting, make sure that all the roles are filled out. That's probably one of the most difficult ones. If you've ever served as a vice president of education, you already know that asking somebody to not only give a speech, but just even taking the role of Toastmaster of the day makes a world of a difference. A lot of the clubs that have open houses, one of the guidance that we provide is pick the people who are very, very solid when it comes to evaluation. Maybe they've competed on the evaluation contest, because those people are usually your deal closers when it comes to guests coming to your meeting. So that's why having that special guest could be the extra touch that you need for the meetings. So that means everything that you have, all the roles are filled out, and then making sure that you have people that you can rely on as being the guest that's normally not part of your meeting. So that's one of the big things that you have to see that you have available. The next part on that is that we talked about is, what's the difference that versus the regular meeting? Why not just have a special guest on every meeting? And I think you will realize that when you have those meetings, it's difficult to have lined up all these special guests unless you have an idea of how you want to structure your meetings. Perfect example is we have quite a few of our clubs that are specialized. We have a club that does improv, and what they do is their special guest comes from the Second City Improv. They have a connection on that. If your meeting wants to focus on improv, here's a suggestion I could provide for you guys. There's a couple clubs or people who can help you out. First one is Yes and Toastmasters, where they're the only improv club in the state of Illinois, and probably one of 7 out of the entire Region 5 area that I know that actually does improv. We did a rough survey, and there's a few that's in Wisconsin, and there's one in Texas that I'm aware of that does improv. So they're a group of people who can provide you, if you wanted to focus on your meeting specifically on the topic of, well, how do you answer questions like the table topics times 10, because with the improv, it gets you comfortable being asked those questions, and then you have to answer it on the spot. So that's one of the things that you can do is finding out exactly why it shouldn't be just just have it in every single meeting, but have these guests, because it will take you time to plan these meetings. So that's one of the big things that we kind of stress out. The next thing, and I'm going to share again my screen, is the focus of the meeting. As I mentioned, having a focus of the meeting, having a theme, helps out plan out for what your meeting is going to be. So if you have a meeting theme ahead, for example, today is April Fool's Day. I attended the meeting for Northwest Suburban, and their theme was, normally is when they do their theme, is they do their meetings what they call a backwards meeting. That means they start the meeting with closing the meeting, thanking everybody, and then they start with the evaluators, and then they have the table topics, and then lastly they have the speeches, and then at the end they are welcomed by the president, and then the sergeant at arms starts the meeting. It's an interesting concept, but it takes a lot of planning, because you have to come up with evaluators that can pretty much serve as like a table topics, because they won't hear the speeches. They're giving the evaluation of a speech that they have not heard, and they have to put it all together, and so you have to ask some of the members to help you out. This is not a one-person effort. This requires your entire club to be involved. And lastly is having to make sure that you advertise this meeting that you have. If your club normally meets at a library, that's a perfect opportunity. Check with the library. I know that one of the clubs that I coach, which is in DeKalb, the problem that they have is they only allow whatever the city has planned out. But there are a lot of libraries that if they know you're a nonprofit organization, they are willing for you to share whatever your topic is. If you get a guest that specifically that, you can find out that, hey, if I advertise at Starbucks and print out a flyer, then maybe you should send out the flyers on Starbucks, or when you have places like Panera that has these things. So right now, obviously, we can't do that, but you can definitely put it on your Eventbrite saying that, hey, my guest is the following, and that can help you out. The other thing is regarding about the special type of guest, and this is where the meeting theme comes along. Sometimes you look for somebody who's recognizable, but the definition of recognizable is recognizable to who? I could talk about Kim Kardashian, and everybody knows who she is because she's famous for just being famous. But if I mention a music artist that's, a lot of people don't know who she is, if they say Ariana Grande, somebody from a different generation might not recognize that name. So the question is, how do you make sure that the person is recognizable? Well, if your theme, let's say in the beginning of the year, is the whole process of improvement, maybe you want a guest who's famous for something like that. Or if you want to do storytelling, maybe you want to get a Toastmaster that is famous for their storytelling. Even though they're not famous for non-Toastmasters, you can put down their background saying, this person has won the world champion of public speaking for District 30 Toastmasters. They don't know Toastmasters, but at least they'll recognize somebody that they have credibility. So that's the reason why you want to do that. For some people, if their club is like a corporate club, and then they're focused something about their, like a testimonial of why it's important for leadership, then you might want to invite somebody from your own company who is on a leadership that actually supports Toastmasters and say, hey, can you, be our guest speaker, and then give them the parameters of what your meeting is. So that's one way that you can get something like a non-Toastmaster who's going to be involved in it. These special events that you plan out, a lot of people would say, hey, let's do an open house. That's definitely the best way that you could do, because what you can do for this is this can help out for anybody who is doing one of their leadership projects on pathways, because one of them is planning a special event. Maybe you could have somebody plan out the special event and then get the people to volunteer for helping out. So this helps in two ways. One, it gets your member to be involved because they have to give a speech on it. And the second part is you are delegating to somebody else who can put together the meeting and then also get the people who they can have serve as part of that open house. So that means maybe you need somebody to provide the snacks for the meeting or refreshments or anything like that. Somebody can take care of the advertisement to help out the Vice President of Public Relations. Maybe it involves for them to take care of any social media posting. If you ask one member just to do one item, it makes it a lot easier for them to say, hey, yeah, I'm willing to do that because it's not too much effort from my end. For the companies, what you can do is you can ask for the corporate clubs about employee resource groups or what they call networking groups. Maybe you want to help out another group from your company that needs to provide a lunch and learn. So even in these days that we are kind of locked down, is you can have a lunch and learn event and then have somebody from, let's say the networking group is the women's group. You can ask them, hey, I'd like to provide for you an open house or a lunch and learn about leadership and how it affects you. And then you can focus on leadership, then get somebody from the leadership of that employee resource group, and then also center the speeches that is being given to focus on leadership or even communication. So that's one way you can set up for the meetings for that way. Now, so the question is, well, where do I find these guests? And this is where we go, I know a guy who knows a guy. You have in your disposal is your district leadership. So that's the first step that you can find somebody who can help you out. You can email Stella at districtdirector@d30toastmasters.org, myself, pqd@d30toastmasters.org, or even our club growth director, Belinda Foltz, cgd@d30toastmasters.org. If you kind of explain to us, hey, this is what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the professional development. And then you reach out to Belinda, and Belinda will say, hey, you know what? Have you thought of getting the following people that's in Toastmasters that can talk about it? Here's some names that I can provide you. If you look on the district course online, those are some of the names that you might want to check out. We've had Teresa Pushkar. She's actually a great example that you can say, hey, you know, she focuses a lot about the presentation. She can talk a lot about that, about presentation. Iqbal Acha has served as a director for, HR director for Walmart. Then you can talk about, you know, well, how does this involve my professional development? He's another person that you can reach out to. You can ask people who are involved in the industry. So let's say if you know that your industry is tied into the food service business or something that's involving, you know, with that category, you can ask our own district director because she works for Don's company. She can probably provide you and say, hey, you know what, I can speak for you on behalf. Or maybe if the focus for your meeting is women in leadership, so you can ask her, or you can even ask Belinda Foltz. So there's a lot of people in your district that if you look at your, if you look at the district leadership, there's a start right there that you can find. You can also look at your own club. That's probably your best source, is how many of you actually know what the other person in your club does for a living? Because what you can do is you can focus on something that they do. If you know somebody in your club is an HR person, maybe ask them, hey, can you get me connected to somebody? Some of you have attended some of our district events, and you might have noticed some of the local District 30 Toastmasters who's who that has done presentations. We've had Jerry Evans, we've had Nancy Depsick, we've had Mark Steele, we've had Marty Jalove, Eric Feinendagen. If these names kind of ring a bell for you, you've heard them, all you have to do is ask. It never hurts to ask. They may be available, especially now in the days that we are pretty much doing our Zoom meetings. They might have a chance to visit you because even if they live somewhere in Gurnee and your club is meeting all the way somewhere in Crystal Lake, you can have them attend your meeting. So getting some of these guests can help out. Personal story that I can share for you, Stella and I, when we were looking around at the 2019 Toastmasters International Convention, and she asked me, hey, who do you have in mind that could possibly speak? And I told her, like, oh my gosh, I have one person in mind. It's Pat Johnson. I saw her give a presentation. And all it took was me running up to her, act like a little schoolgirl and go, oh my God, I'm a big fan of yours. And she found it a little strange that I would ask that, but, I asked her if she could sign my book. And I talked to her and I'd asked her, hey, we have a conference. We'd love to have you speak at our conference on our TLI and discuss about how do you sustain vibrant clubs, just like how you discussed it on your presentation from the 2018 International Convention. And she was glad to help out. It's somebody from British Columbia. She just told us, hey, these are the dates that I'm available. Maybe I can make it. But all you have to do is ask. So you can even check out anybody in Toastmasters. Don't be afraid to ask, because the worst thing they could possibly say is, no, I'm not available that date, but they might refer somebody else. So that's one of the things that you can learn about, just asking whoever that you have that you've seen present at some of the district events, some of the events from Toastmasters International Convention. All you have to do is ask. There's a few people in our district that we can refer to you if you just reach out to us that has connections to certain people. That's how we ended up getting Jim Keys, and we've had Lance Miller, having Craig Valentine. All these people is because we know somebody who knows somebody. So that's not really a joke. It's we do know somebody who knows somebody. It's the networking that we do at Toastmasters. You can certainly ask for somebody to say, hey, do you know who has a contact for Ryan Avery? He's another world champion of public speaking. He's the youngest person to ever win the world champion of public speaking. Wanted to reach out to him. You just check out what their availability is. Maybe they can provide that presentation that you need. So at this time, I know that people are asking questions. Oh, perfect example. Greg Seepley has mentioned Ellen Schnur and Jim Messier. Both of them are actually Toastmasters, and they have given presentations on previous spring conventions that we've had, spring conferences that we've had in the previous years. They've given presentations on improv. You can certainly ask them. They're Toastmasters. They're Second City graduates, alumni, so they can help you out. And that's another example. So Greg has pointed out some of these people who can help out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up. If you guys want to, I'm going to unmute everybody. And then if you want to suggest a topic, and then if anybody wants to contribute a person that they know who can help out. So anybody want to suggest a topic or a person that they feel that can help out for a topic?
Well, I don't know that it would be a person per se, like we're talking about now, but I have thought in the past about inviting local politicians at least. And I know that it sounds kind of political, obviously, but the local people, like maybe not the mayor, but you could do the mayor or like the police chief or the fire department and things like that, more for community development. And of course, you don't have to have them speak for long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It just sort of builds some type of interest in people. Oh, the mayor's going to be here, or the chief of police is going to be here. He's going to talk about, whatever the plans for this, that, or the other thing. It's just sort of more community involvement type speaker. It's just one idea I've had in the past.
That's an excellent suggestion. What Greg has suggested, and the benefit that comes along with that is perfect example was with the CALB was we invited the fire chief to speak. And the next thing we know, he recommended some of his firefighters that were up for promotion for a battalion chief to join Toastmasters because they saw us, and that's a side benefit. So if you invite like a mayor or anything like that, that can help out, I'm going to...
Because I don't know, pata nahi negative cheez hogi, kya ho gaya, I don't want...
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to mute everybody, and then you can unmute yourself. So yeah, if you invite some of these people, like if it was a local politician or like your local city council, that's a perfect example. So a lot of people I'm looking right now that's on the screen, belong to community clubs. You can certainly ask not only your community. So Ralph belongs to Des Plaines Toastmasters. Maybe you want to ask people in the neighboring cities that they can help out. Ayaz belongs to ICN. Now, he belongs to a very special club because they are a religious affiliated club that they can even ask people from their own leadership on their organization to speak out, and at the same time they can help out. So we have Carol Henry. If you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm finally unmuted. Okay. Sporty King now lives in South Carolina, North Carolina, one of them. And he's just now getting into virtual. But Sporty has spoken to District 30 before, and he used to be a member of the Woodridge Club.
What was his name?
Sporty King.
Sporty King, okay. See, and so if you know that person's name and how they can help out, as a matter of fact, what we can do is if you want to put it on the chat, because we're saving also the information on the chat, we can provide you the contact person who can help you get a hold of that person. So like what Carol suggested, what Greg suggested, make sure you put it on the chat because we save the chat and then we can do some follow-up for the people so you can figure out who can reach out to you. Maybe we can provide that person just, for privacy purposes, we'll provide them your contact information saying, hey, they're looking for information.
Yeah.
Here's another suggestion from okay, so Johnny Campbell, he's an ex-D30. He lives in Florida. That's a perfect example. He has served as a presenter for the Toastmasters International Convention. He has presented over at District 54 and also for 103 for their recent conferences. So yeah, he has that connection. One of the things that we found out was from Nancy Depsick. One of the big reasons why she gladly helps out every time we have a district event and we ask her, hey, can you talk about the TEDx experience that you've had, is because she firmly believes that Toastmaster has changed her life, both personally and professionally, and she's willing to give back to Toastmasters. So that's one of the things that you have to think about. Ralph has mentioned about another club, just like Eric Feinendagen. Yes, in Toastmasters' first demo meeting that they had, they invited Eric Feinendagen to give a speech and actually present. And it's kind of hilarious is because a lot of people who were not familiar with Toastmasters were a little bit intimidated because it was too good of a speaker. So we have to explain, it was like, here's an example of what we have, some of the best of the best. Connor Canine is still around. He's also available. You can definitely ask him if he's available. Barry Mixon is definitely a great guest to have. He's willing to speak for a lot of people. He has recently presented at our Leap to Your Success event on February 29th. And he gave a great presentation. There was almost about 60 people that attended his session because he gave something of a great tool on how do you build your speeches using storytelling. And then he pretty much provided a structure and then also a method so you can figure out what works and what needs tweaking if you already have a method on doing your storytelling. So we've had these all suggestions. So we've had Barry Mixon, Connor Canine, Eric Feinendagen, Johnny Campbell, Ellen Schnur, Jim Mercier, and then Carol, if you want to type it in also in the chat box so we can make sure we have this thing recorded so we can also provide this for everybody.
Hey, Noel.
Yes, Sean.
Greg. It's Greg.
Oh, Greg.
One other thing, and I never was able to really do this successfully, consistently, but it's more of a club building, but it could also be like it is a special guest type event where you look for local businesses that are, usually like, not huge businesses, but just local businesses that are interesting. It could be a car dealer. It could be, a restaurant. It could be something like that. And you ask the owner or the manager to come in and present us to, what their company is all about to the club in 5 or 10 minutes. And actually, we had a couple of people, like we had the Chamber of Commerce for a couple places come in and do that, and they ended up joining. We had a car dealer come in one time, do it. We had an insurance guy come in and do it. You know, they don't, you know, they could be windy, you know, speak a little too long, but you know, 5 minutes, you give them 5 or 10 minutes and they're happy to do it. And it's sometimes interesting and you might get another member out of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So some of the clubs that we have, I found out that they are members of their local Chamber of Commerce. You might want to check it out. It is an investment for the club. I know that one of the clubs that I know in District 54, they invested on it, and they had a ribbon cutting ceremony because technically with Toastmasters, we don't have our own place of business. But they attend the events and then invite them to come to the meeting, to the point that they ended up having their president join, the president of the Chamber of Commerce join. Tiffany pointed out that one of the most famous people that we have in our own local lore of Toastmasters is our very own world champion of public speaking, Brad Pitt. He's no longer a Toastmaster, but we can definitely help you connect to him, because I know that he has items to sell. That's something that you have to know. Is some of the people offered him the chance that, hey, can even kind of present your business. Because it's not like the pitch that they show out when they give a presentation. So if you notice on the leap year of success, we've asked all these people who presented, Eric Feinendagen, with Barbara Beckley when she did the officer training, Barry Mixon, we had CJ Powers. They provided their card, and if they had a business, we were willing to say, hey, if you want to share your business, Nancy Depsick, has a website. It's called Unshakable Success. She had her business card, she had her flyers, and it helped out. So that's a good opportunity for them to also connect back to our own Toastmasters, and they're giving back to the club that the group that actually provided them the source. Kerry Watson, also from District 30, he's an accredited speaker. You can definitely ask him, and hey, are you interested? The worst thing that he can possibly say, as I've said before, is say the word no, but. Usually the no will always say with the word but.
A couple of ideas would be to ask the people that were contestants in the district programs, either in the area level or in the division level. Ask them to come and talk. The winners of those contests would love to get the opportunity to speak to another club. The great opportunity is your club, new people, your club get an opportunity to see somebody that's generally an excellent speaker. By the time they get past the division level, by the time they get up to the division level, they're really good speakers. And it's a great opportunity for your people to see other people speak, as well as it's a great opportunity to allow those people to practice their speeches. We've done it in Oak Brook Speakers for years. We continue to do it. We've had Nancy do it when she was running here locally. We had her do it before she went to Washington, D.C., when she was competing in the international contest. It's a great opportunity for clubs to see excellent speakers, and a great opportunity for excellent speakers to practice their craft and hone their information. If your club is good at giving evaluations, we did group evaluations on these people. It's a magical thing when they get feedback from individuals. They have coaches that are involved, but they also get feedback from individuals. That helps the people that are taking these courses and trying to go to the next steps. That helps them tremendously.
Perfect example. Thank you so much, Larry, because that's one of the things. One thing I learned from Stan Piskorski, he's a member and he's one of the founders of Windy City Professionals. Windy City Professionals, if you're not familiar with this club is, they're professional, just like Midwest Professionals. Those two clubs get members that you actually have to audition to join their club. So it's a very special bunch of people, because they really craft their speech, and sometimes they even focus on the business that they are at. But Stan would always recruit people by attending all these local area division contests. And he would rank them, and he would take notes saying, I'm going to approach this person. And he's actually approached quite a few of the people who competed and say, hey, I know you belong to this club. Would you be interested on a second club that can help you take you to the next level? Or, Nancy Depsick was saying that one time she had to give a presentation for Windy City professionals because she has she had a keynote that she had to give for a very specific audience. She said, white gentlemen that are over the age of 60 in the boating industry. So it was very specific. So that's the type of audience that you have. So you can reach out to Windy City professionals. Check out their meeting. They are also online, as well as Midwest professionals, because you can network with the people in that club and ask them, hey, would you be willing to speak at our club? Just like how Larry mentioned, these are the people who compete all the time. Whoever wins in our district international speech contest, don't be afraid to reach out to that person and say, hey, if you make it to the regionals and you're in the semifinals, we would love for you to practice your speech. I don't know if Stella or Tiffany can confirm this. There was this lore about Eric Feinendagen that when he competed in Vegas he's practiced his speech for like 500 or 600 times in different clubs. Is that true?
So I don't know the exact quantity, but I know it was a lot, and he even went overseas to Ireland a little bit too and tested it out there. So it absolutely went everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah. See, if you notice, he's willing to speak, and just like what Larry mentioned was, this is also a chance for your club to be involved and maybe revive and give that spark for people to learn how to give evaluations. Better yet, we have a list. If you look on our District 30 website, and I'll put this on the link on our virtual courses, there is a list of people who have won previous international speech contests as well as evaluation or even the humorous contest. Because what you can do is you can check that out and find out if they're still Toastmasters. We can definitely provide you their contact information. If they're around the neighborhood, we can definitely help you out. Perfect example of that is you have Garrett Gray, Mike Stampini, Tad Gray, Stan Piskorsky, Iqbal Acha. All these people have won evaluation. Maybe that's what your club needs to have, is that special guest that can show how to do evaluations. I know that for quite a few of us that had to give an ACG presentation on evaluate, the art of effective evaluation, why not hear from somebody who actually won a district contest that can show you this is how you do evaluation. This is the reason why I won. One of the things was Midwest Professionals put out an event where they had winners from previous district evaluation. We had Kish Thomas, we had Iqbal Acha, Stan Piskorsky, and Jeff Stein that actually did their take on why they were successful as an evaluator. So definitely reach out to these people. Pope hasn't arrived because we're in a different time zone, so he's also in quarantine. If you hadn't heard, his vicar was tested positive, so we might have a problem trying to reach him out. Carol Henry has put down the information for Sporty King. There's information for booking him, an email address, a phone number. Thank you so much for sharing that, Carol. And we'll make sure that we pass out any of the other information if you want to reach out to these people. So that's a pretty good example. Any other examples can everybody provide on a topic that you can get a guest, a special guest, or somebody that you might want to suggest, somebody who can be a person that we wouldn't have thought of being a special guest for your Toastmasters meeting? Quite silent.
I'd like to suggest the individuals in our district who not only have competed in contests and won or did not win, because a lot of them come so close. Sometimes in a competition, it's just by a point or two. So a lot of the presenters that do compete in our district are very good, and they could be very good attraction speakers to a club that can make a club thrive with them being promoted that they're there. But also, we are constantly increasing the amount of members that are in our district that are really good on TED Talks. And so therefore, those individuals have gone the extra mile and they have prepared for TED Talks, and that allows them to be somebody that's very polished, and they can use that acknowledgement that they've been on TED Talks or the Moth, which is the story speaking avenue. That's what I would like to suggest.
So that's a great suggestion, what Stella pointed out about the TED Talks. We have some few names that I can definitely list out for everybody. We've had Michelle Kim, Mark Steele has presented, Garrett Gray has presented, Jeff Stein, Eric Feinendagen has given a speech, Nancy Depsick. Those are people who have provided TED Talks, and it's a great example for that. If the special guest doesn't have to be something big where it's, it has to be somebody famous, like I mentioned, like Brad Pitt or Pope Francis. We have people in our district, if they needed help on pathways, one of our people that's on the line right now, Larry New, he's a perfect example that you can use. Shirley Tracy, she was the person who was in charge of the Pathways Help Desk. If you notice, there were a lot of people. So hopefully you picked up a card from one of those people who were giving those presentations, or the help desk, because they can help you out on Pathways. So if there's something that you need to figure out how to do on Pathways, they can definitely help you out. A lot of your district leaders are getting used to doing these Zoom presentations. If you need somebody to help you or your club to show the features of whatever platform that you use for virtual meetings, we can certainly help you out also. The fact that we're having this virtual course session definitely gives you an idea that, you can ask people from our district who has some kind of, they're like a subject matter expert for these topics. Belinda, would you like to suggest somebody that we know or have a topic?
Yeah, Noel, I also like to suggest that I was just talking to Belinda earlier today, and she had made a mention about how people are actually jumping on and participating with club meetings around the world. And a lot of times you can actually invite some of our leadership from Toastmasters International to be spotlighted in your club meeting. And I'm sure that with us being all in the virtual world today, they would be very delighted to join in some of our meetings. So there's nothing wrong with reaching out to them and asking them to be spotlighted in your club meeting.
And that's a great point. I'm going to list out for you guys Deepak Menon. He's our current international president. If you were around a couple of years ago, he came to visit the Chicago area, and that time he was the second vice president. So it was 3 years ago. He's definitely somebody who can help out. Pat Martin, she is part of District 103, and she's also helping out. She's a past district governor. So Deepak Menon is our international president. You can even ask Lark Doley if you want to ask her. It doesn't hurt to ask. They might not be available, but they might refer you to somebody. I've had the chance to interview Daniel Rex. He's the CEO of Toastmasters. So all I did was ask him, and he was glad to actually be interviewed. That was perfect. I didn't even have to, put a great effort on that. So these are the people that you might want to check out. Even the one who's our current second vice president. I'm blanking out on his name. Oh, sorry. Our second vice president is Margaret Page. Sorry, she's our first vice. Yeah, she's our first vice president. So Margaret Page is somebody that you can ask, to be involved. Richard Peck, who is the international president-elect. These are people that you can definitely ask and see. Hey, if they're available, that's great. If not, maybe they can refer somebody who can help you out. So emailing these people, or if you have a way to reach out to them, if you know a person who knows a person, ask Stella. She can reach out to them too. So some of these mentions, so that's some of the things that we want to make sure that you guys are aware. But definitely, when it comes to the special guests that you want to use to attract members, maybe it's not a Toastmaster. So if you are attending this meeting, it's because you wanted that special guest. We're giving you some ideas that's outside of the Toastmaster realm. If you're not aware, about a year ago is when they made that announcement saying that we have a partnership now, and we're still trying to figure out the details on that, on the our connection with Rotary? I'm blanking out with the Rotary Club. you can reach out to Rotary, and they're looking, you know, as much as they're looking for people to speak, it goes both ways. We can ask them to come to our meeting. So people might be curious, because if they love volunteering, that's why they join Toastmasters, that's another option that you have. So those are the things that I can throw out for you. If you have any other ideas, or you need some other ideas, throw it in the chat right now. It's a great opportunity for everybody to share all these people.
Noel, can I add one other thing? It's Greg again.
Sure.
Considering that there's really no logistical issue of getting people together now, especially in the United States, would be a great time to hold joint meetings with clubs from anywhere else in the country, or even the world, if it's possible.
Yeah, definitely. I'm listing out right now some of our leaders that, if you're not aware their names are, you can definitely search them. It's on the Toastmasters. Their email is public, so you can reach out to them and, hey, just send them an email. If they respond, great. If they didn't respond, just wait for a few days, you know, because I know they're probably inundated with everything that's going on with the lockdown for everybody and having to do virtual meetings. But yeah, Matt Kinsey's the other person that was running it through my head, the second vice president. He's another guy. He definitely helps out. Mohammed Qayyum, if you guys saw him at the Leap to Your Success, he's another person that can help out for us. And if you're wondering, he's definitely listed right there. Club leaders from leading clubs on how to increase club numbers. Here's the best way what you can do. If you have not checked out the Toastmasters.org website and go to Leadership Central, you will see one that's listed called Distinguished Distinguished Club Performance Report. And check out the clubs in District 30. Here are the ones that with the big numbers of their club. You can see which ones are successful, and find out who the person is, who's the president of that club or vice president of education. Ask them, hey, how did you guys come up with that big of a number, especially for a community club? And they'd be willing to speak out for your club. That can definitely help out. So great suggestion on that, Carol. That's probably one of the best things that can help out, is you ask them what makes your club successful in getting members and how to convert them. So that's a perfect example that you can find out who these clubs are. So that's listed on our our Toastmasters International website. We are now approaching at 7:49. Are there any other topics that you guys want to cover? Because pretty much I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that we talked about was making sure that why having the special guest, the difference between a special guest and having a regular meeting, and then focusing on the meeting and the guest and the type of guest that you can have, and then special events that you could have. One of the things that I mentioned on the special events, Yes and Toastmasters, they do this in the summer. So this is their second year now in existence, but they did what they call a Tastemaster. This is a way to involve some of your members' baking skills or cooking skills. And at the same time, this is where you can invite other people. We've invited Stella to attend that event, and Belinda actually competed on Tastemasters. Tiffany was also involved in that. See if, we invited her for the event. That's one way that you can get not only your club to do something fun, like, providing food for everybody, but at the same time, you get some district leader or somebody else, outside and judge the food that you have. Yeah, I know, Larry. Can't taste the food right now, but hopefully when things definitely kind of, get better outside, that's something that you might want to plan out. Reach out to District 30 DTM Club. Yes, I will make that shameless plug because I'm a member of that club too. Yes, you can get some members over there because the Driven to Motivate DTM Club, they are people who have achieved their DTM, or they're probably about half step away from getting their DTM. Oh yeah, Belinda wants a rematch. We're hoping that we can do the rematch for the baking at Yes and Toastmasters. Yes, Belinda, we're hoping that hopefully by the summertime we can all go and do that. Okay, so anybody else wants to suggest a topic or guest that we know? This is a great opportunity for you to share that idea. And I can't thank everybody enough for for participating on this. We do have a couple of sessions that's coming up, April 6th and April 7th. Valinda, did you want to talk about your session?
Sure, I can definitely talk about my session that's coming up. Our club coach chair will be having a special session on how to create value in a virtual setting, and that will be coming up at 7 o'clock on April 6th. It's going to be an awesome session and will feature Cassandra Lee. And I think that it's going to be a really special session and everyone should attend if possible. And we will have a recording version of that available when it is over as well. So there is information on the District 30 webpage. If you just go to April 6th, you'll find out how you can actually access that meeting.
And we
Thank
also
you.
have another session. Thank you so much, Belinda. And also, we also have a session on April 7th. Stella, if you would like to share the information on that one.
On the day of April 7th in the evening between 7 and 8:30, we're going to have a program where we're going to be talking about how to make the club meeting that is virtual very vibrant and very exciting, and how you can actually make it successful and how you can run it. We've had several different clubs in our district that actually have had virtual meetings all along. One of them in particular that's not that far from where I live has been doing it since the time they got chartered. And I was an area director, and I went over there to visit them to do a report, and I saw how fantastic not only the people that were in the room were engaged, but they had the video camera going, and how they were doing people that were calling in from out of the state, and they were able to participate in it. And they were able to do a speech virtually. They were able to do the evaluations and the timing cards and the grammarian reports. And so how do you really do it, and how do you get it to be very engaging? And the outreach program that we've put together this last week, where there's members of our district that are reaching out to clubs to get them engaged virtually, are going to have a panelist discussion on that and bring in some great tips. So that will be April the 7th at 7 o'clock, same place, same channel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So for everybody, again, we can't thank you enough for being a part of this virtual meeting that we have. We do have this thing recorded. As soon as we end this meeting, I'm going to have to wait until the cloud recording is synced up, and then we are definitely going to put the link within the next few hours for that. And also the slides that I presented for you, and then also some of the people that we put as a suggestion, we're going to put down a document so you can see who and what are the people that you can check out based on the chat that we've just had. Again, thank you so much for everybody for attending this meeting. If you have any other questions, you can definitely check out our District 30 webpage, d30toastmasters.org. You can reach out to me, PQD, as in Program Quality Director, at d30toastmasters.org. And of course, if you have any questions for our district director, it's district director at d30toastmasters.org. And of course, any questions on the club growth, we have CGD at d30toastmasters.org. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful night. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Have a good night.
Night.
Good night. And thank you.
Night.
Thank you.